Today, we're going on an incredible journey. We're going to follow our food all the way from a tiny little seed in the ground to these absolutely massive silos that store the world's harvest. Let's trace that path, from seed to silo.
I mean, really, stop and think about it for a second. That piece of toast you had this morning, that bowl of rice you ate for dinner, it has been on an epic adventure to get to you. It's a journey that's part science, part technology, and, a whole lot of hard work.
And here's why that journey is so intense. We're not just talking about growing food for one family in their backyard. We're talking about feeding billions of people all over the planet. That means we have to produce food on a scale that is just mind-bogglingly huge. So, how do we even begin to tackle that challenge? Well, it all comes down to one fundamental idea: the crop. It's a pretty simple concept, really. You just grow a whole lot of the same kind of plant in one place. Whether that's a massive field of wheat or a flooded paddy of rice, this is ground zero for all of modern agriculture.
Okay, so how do you get from a totally empty field to a full-blown harvest? Well, it's not magic, right? It's a super systematic process. And this right here, this is our roadmap for this explainer. The 7 basic steps, the core practices that turn one little seed into the food on your table.
Let's start at the very, very beginning. Before you can even think about planting a seed, you've got to create the perfect home for it. So step 1 is all about getting the soil just right. You're basically making the perfect bed for that seed to grow in.
So why do farmers spend all this energy tilling and plowing? Well, it's all about fixing one big problem: hard, packed-down dirt. By loosening it up, you're letting the plant's roots stretch out and dig deep. It also lets them breathe, and it helps out all the good guys in the soil, like earthworms and microbes, who keep things healthy. It's like fluffing a pillow for the plants.
And wow, this slide just says it all, doesn't it? On the left, you've got the classic wooden plow, something we used for centuries, pulled by animals. And on the right, a modern, tractor-driven cultivator. That's not just a small step up, it's a massive leap in efficiency. It's a tech revolution that lets one farmer do the work of dozens. All right, so the soil is prepped, it's ready to go. Now we come to one of the most important stages of all: sowing. If you mess this part up, honestly, none of the other steps even matter.
I mean, you can't just throw any old seeds into the ground and hope for the best. To get a really good harvest, farmers need high-quality, clean, healthy seeds. So how do they pick them?
Well, it turns out there's this brilliantly simple, low-tech trick. See, damaged seeds are often hollowed out, which makes them lighter. So if you put them in water, they float. The good, healthy, dense seeds sink right to the bottom. It's an ancient, super effective quality check that still works like a charm today.
And yup, you guessed it. Just like with plowing, the technology for planting seeds has come a long way. On the left, you can see a simple, traditional funnel-like tool, and on the right, the modern seed drill. At a glance, they do the same job, but trust me, the difference between them is a total game changer.
The seed drill is just a master of precision. It plants every single seed at the exact right depth and distance from its neighbors. This prevents the plants from getting overcrowded and fighting for sunlight. Oh, and it also covers them up with soil, which hides them from hungry birds. It's efficient, it's protective, and it saves a ton of time. So, the seeds are in the ground. Now comes the long game. The next phase is all about nurturing those tiny little plants while they grow, and this can take months. It's all about feeding them, watering them, and of course, protecting them from all sorts of threats. I want you to think of a field kind of like a kitchen pantry. Every single time you grow a crop, it's taking nutrients out of that pantry. If you keep doing that year after year without restocking, the soil gets totally depleted. It becomes poor, and your crops get weak. And that's where manure and fertilizers come in. So farmers have 2 main tools in their toolbox to restock that pantry. First up, you've got manure. That's the natural, organic stuff from decomposed animal and plant waste. Then you have fertilizers. These are man-made chemicals packed with specific nutrients like nitrogen or potassium. You can think of it like this. Fertilizers are like a targeted vitamin shot, while manure is more like a whole, balanced meal that also improves the overall health of the soil. Okay, food's covered. Let's move on to probably the most essential ingredient for life, period: water. I mean, a plant is almost 90% water. Without a steady supply, absolutely nothing can grow.
For literally thousands of years, irrigation systems looked something like this. This is called the Rahat system, where an ox or other animal would walk in circles all day to pull water up from a well. And hey, it was clever and it got the job done, but man, was it slow, and a ton of that precious water was just lost to evaporation before it even got to the plants.
And then you see this. Bam! The modern solution. On the left, we've got the sprinkler system, which is kind of like creating artificial rain. And on the right, you have the drip system, which delivers water one drop at a time, straight to the roots of the plant. This method is incredibly efficient, wasting almost zero water, which makes it an absolute lifesaver in places where water is really scarce.
Okay, so our little plants have food, they have water, but now they have enemies, weeds. These are basically unwanted intruders, plant bullies that pop up and try to steal all the good stuff, the water, the nutrients, the sunlight, from our actual crop. So farmers have to get rid of them, either by pulling them out by hand or by using special chemicals called weedicides.
Okay, deep breath. After months of all that hard work, all that care, the day finally comes. The crops are ripe, the fields have turned to gold, and it is time for the harvest. This is the moment, the final payoff for all that effort.
Just look at this slide. The contrast here is absolutely incredible. On the left, you have a simple sickle, a tool we've used to cut grain by hand for millennia. And on the right, a modern combine harvester, a gigantic beast of a machine that can do the work of hundreds of people in just a fraction of the time. The entire story of modern agriculture is right here in this one picture.
Ever wonder why it's called a combine? Well, it's because it combines two huge jobs into one single machine. It doesn't just cut the crop, which is harvesting, it also separates the valuable grain from all the useless bits of the plant, a process called threshing. It's basically a factory on wheels.
But hold on, the journey isn't over yet. Getting the grain out of the field is only half the battle. Now you have to store it safely and protect it from moisture, from insects, from rats, anything that could spoil the entire harvest. On the left is the old school way, a granary full of sacks. And on the right, the modern solution, these massive climate-controlled silos that can store grain on an industrial scale, making sure we have food all year round. And there you have it, from a carefully prepared plot of soil all the way to a climate-controlled silo. It's this incredible, systematic process that allows us to feed the world. We've truly become masters at producing food on a vast scale. But it leaves you with a pretty big question, right? What comes next? What's the great agricultural challenge that the next generation is going to have to solve?